Alright, this is all about the current early access version of the Ghost in the Shell game. Everything is subject to change. Alright, it. This is gonna be painful. I really like Ghost in the Shell. It was my first introduction to the wonderfully sexy world of cyberpunk, and while it's definitely a show with a lot of exposition, it's something that I enjoyed a lot during my formative years. The stories, animation, characters, and world are all incredibly interesting, and it's safe to say that it's something I hold dear. So, when a new game was announced, I was excited. Then I found out that it's a multiplayer-only shooter, and then I found out that it was gonna be free to play, and then I found out that it's being published by Nexon, and now it's on Steam's early access platform for $5, but it will be free when it launches next year. I think it's pretty understandable that after hearing all of that mess, my excitement for the title had waned a little bit. Still, it's only $5, so I went ahead and I picked it up just to see, you know, just to know for myself and for my friends if this game is worth any weight in salt. When you start out the game for the first time, you get pushed through a tutorial that really feels like the most generic, hey, you've never played a shooter before, right? Tutorial that I have ever been through, and then you get thrust right into the menus. I feel like I should give you guys some fair warning. This video is gonna get pretty salty and a little nitpicky from this point on. Just know that I'm not doing this just to complain for the sake of it. I want this to be a good game, and I truly feel that it has the potential to be something awesome. Because of that, and because I hold the Ghost in the Shell IP in such high regard, the fact that there are so many things off-putting or just plain wrong about this game just frustrates me more than it has any right to. And I've decided to point out all of the flaws as well as acknowledge the parts that are well done in hopes that somebody sees this and makes changes for the betterment of the game. And let me just state this plainly to make it clear. I actually enjoy this game. I've played a handful of hours with and without friends, and once you learn how to think about the game, it's fairly fun. While the amount of players is small, it seems like for the most part they actually participate in what communication is possible, and you know, I may just be saying this because I had a few good or close games, but I think this new Gits game has a lot of potential, even if it needs some work to really bring it out. All right, we good? Everybody's on the same page here? Okay, let's get salty. We'll start at the menu system and then just work our way down through the actual match mechanics, and along the way I'll do my best to come up with possible solutions or tweaks. Like I said, after the tutorial, you get dropped into the main menu, and oh, what a menu this one is. It is so incredibly cobbled together that it feels like they took a page right out of the How to Make a Free-to-Play Games menu playbook. It tossed on some cyberpunk textures and then called it a day without any thoughts towards making the systems intuitive or very user-friendly. You know what, let's actually take a look at this. We've got our quick match button up top, as well as access to our characters, player info, the armory, and the market. Alright, you know what? That seems fair. This top bar is pretty decent as it is. Then we go straight down and see the network access area right in the middle of the screen. Why does it also have a quick match button, and why is there a button to do the tutorial? Why is the custom match button down here instead of up there with the other play button? Combined with whatever mess this is beside it, it makes this whole middle area super cluttered, and to top it off, we've got the friends list just sitting there begging me to add friends from Steam in there instead of just keeping them on Steam. Side note, integrate with Steam. You're selling on that platform, utilize it before release. You have a grouping system for friends, so just toss the Steam friends into a group. So, alright, we know it's a mess. We'll talk about some of the actual functionality issues that the menu has in a little bit, but for now I want to try and clean up this main menu. Take the quick match, custom match, and tutorial buttons that we have in the middle and get rid of them. Then put custom match and tutorial as second options under the dive button at the top. Make it kind of a drop down, so you click on the dive button and then a list of quick match, custom match, and tutorial comes up. This frees up a lot of space in the center so you can display information in a nice clean manner, as well as making room for adding new or special game modes, maybe a ranked mode or something like that. It's just much easier to find a spot on the menu because you just add it onto the drop down, and if it gets too long for the vertical screen space, you add a scroll bar. And now that the center part of the screen is freed up a bit, use it as a news feed. Please don't put ads here. For the love of all the cute touchcomas in the world, just don't. Use it to display stuff like patch notes or news about upcoming events. This allows people to to easily keep up with what's going on with your game. The friends list, notification system, and the item receiving systems are all pop-out menus already, so the next part is actually an easy fix. Make these menus closed by default, and then stretch the newly made newsfeed and maybe even the progress window over to the left to fill up that blank space. If you don't plan on modifying the unlock system, then keeping the progress menu short should be fine. Now, when people open the friends list or notification list, you can either keep it short or just pop it out over the newsfeed. It already has an opaque background, so either of these should be totally fine. The way you receive daily rewards in some other items is another problem. When you get some fat loot or something, it goes into your items menu down at the bottom left. You then have to go in there, open whatever it is up, and then it goes to your armory or wallet or wherever. Why not skip this step and just put it where it goes? There's already a system that says, hey, you have a new extra thing, and it even tells you what it is and where it is as you go through the menus. These extra steps of opening stuff up are just pointless. They probably have something to do with the satisfied feeling that people have been known to get when opening up chests or something, but it just doesn't exist here. It's tedious. So now that we've got the main menu handled, let's go ahead and actually talk about the character system, because it's kind of interesting. You pick a character to start with, and then you unlock them as you level up, with the next character coming at level 4 or 5. Each character has a single unique ability, and some of the abilities can be shared with your teammates as long as they're within range. You charge up your abilities as you play within a match by getting points. So getting kills, capping terminals, planting the bomb, yada yada yada, it all charges it. You can use the ability after a minimum charge, and the more you charge it, the longer it lasts. Shareable abilities can only be shared after you charge them up to tier 2, and non-shareable abilities just get some kind of bonus once they reach tier 2. This is a really cool system, and I would love to see it put to use in a match where both teams have solid team compositions and the players are communicating and actively working together. Now, this is where it gets kind of weird. You choose a character before finding a server or between matches, and your choice is locked in once the game starts, meaning you can't switch. Normally, there's really no issue with this. Having to think carefully about the character that you play based on your team's composition is an important part of teamwork, strategy, and synergy. While there's no lock-in, there's also no character limits. You can end up with a team of mostly one character and therefore ability during a game, and it can screw you over. More often than not, when you join a game through quick match, you don't actually get a chance to look at the team compositions and change your character accordingly. When you join via custom match, you get a chance to pick your character, at least in demolition mode. I'm not sure about the other modes, as I haven't actually found an open game through custom match in any other game mode. It's simply a strange combination to pick. Those two design decisions feel like they're from two different sides of two completely different coins, and they just don't really belong together. The player needs time to look at the team compositions before hopping into the game so that they can choose their character and ensure they don't accidentally choose a character that there's already too many of, especially when you can't switch your character once you get in game. The way character selection currently works only adds on to the feeling of indecisiveness that this game has. There are a couple of options to fix this that, while only minorly different, would at least make a clear decision about how the developers want the game to play. Option 1 is to limit the number of individual characters that can be on a team and keep the character lock-in. Limit it to 1 or 2, maybe even 3, it doesn't really matter all that much. In this situation, I'm in favor of it being 2 or 3 for now, since the player population is low and spread across so many servers that if it were limited to 1, it'd probably be hard to actually find a match. You could also say that if I go to join a match, but there's already a maximum number of the character I want to play in the match, you just let me choose another one. Since you only get one character to start with, that could cause an issue, but just let players get 2 characters at the start and bam, problem solved. Option 2 is to remove character lock-in and don't add a character limit. This would make team compositions more flexible and allow for you to change up your strategy on the fly in order to handle whatever game plan the enemy team has. I'm more in favor of this one, as it's more strategy added into the game and would simply feel more fluid and interesting. Mind you, you could run into issues with this, like people going all turret or all armor, so you'd maybe want to rebalance the abilities to prevent for overpowering compositions, though this may also just be a non-issue, since if Team A does go all turret, then Team B can simply go all rocket fist and that problem is handled. Each match is up to 16 players, and you can modify this in the custom games screen. I think that 8v8 is a bit much, but it works well for action-packed multiplayer multiplayer games. Having 16 players on a map makes it feel more like a hectic battlefield, and when you get down to 10 players in 5v5, it feels far more tactical. Having the ability to do both is great, but I personally feel that 5v5 is much more suited to this game and its mechanics, and it really serves to bring out the tactical side that's promised everywhere and only marginally exists right now. A final note about the character system, or more specifically, the character models. The enemy team always shows up as one of 3 or 4 generic models. The entire team shows up the same, so there's no way to tell what abilities the person that you're shooting at has. Right now, maybe the game is just too fast-paced for that kind of thing to matter, but since we're talking about making this more tactical to bring out the real potential it has, let's say the game is slowed down from the other decisions we're making in this video. Being able to see what character you're up against on the battlefield is important for prioritizing targets, especially with skill share being a thing. Being able to tell who it is that's giving his 3 teammates armor or whatever would allow you to know which one to take out first so that the others are easier to handle. The best solution here is honestly pretty simple in my mind. Instead of using a random enemy goon model for each map, tie a model to each character. Give Bato this big guy, give Saito this very clearly a sniper guy, yada yada yada. You need to make some more models, but this keeps players feeling like they're specific characters in the show taking on some baddies, but also allows for the players to strategize. As an added bonus, it would give the enemy team some nice variance in look and feel, making it feel less like you're just shooting wave after wave of the same faceless goons. The movement system is a bit of a letdown. I like how your weapon loadout and any attachments will modify your movement speed. That feels like a great decision and works well for balancing, but what gets me is the lack of vertical movement and positioning options. You can vault over some chest-high walls and climb up walls that have ladders. You can sprint for as long as you want, and the speed of jogging and sprinting feel in place. They could be a bit quicker, but it's not a huge deal. One of the abilities is hyper sprint, and it makes you insanely fast and jump crazy high, so I understand if jogging and sprinting need to stay where they are. There are a lot of walls of either chest height or ladder height that you simply can't jump over or climb up because they're not marked for it. Why? I'm a cyborg badass. I can think of no reason why I can't climb up even that same wall right beside the ladder, especially given that the animation makes it look like I'm just grabbing the top and hoisting myself up anyways. There's a lot of vertical space in pretty much every level that just goes unused. I can't help but notice awesome vantage points that would work great for getting the drop on the enemy team, but I can't get to them. It feels like I'm limited and weighted down for no real reason. Jumping over or climbing up ledges should be more widely available, and the vertical space that each stage has should really be utilized. It'd make the overall gameplay more unique, and players would have to pay more attention. This may slow the game down a bit, but that may not be a bad thing because it means people would be thinking more tactically about positioning and actually covering their teammates. Pacing is, in a word, strange. It's as if it's between Call of Duty and Counter-Strike. Gameplay clearly tries to pull from both, as well as some other games, without sticking the landing in any way. The problem is that everything about this game says it's a tactical team-based shooter and that it will provide a tactical experience, and the game just isn't at all in any way actually any bit of tactical at all. The most tactical game mode is Demolition, and even then it's only barely. There's no voice chat, only text communication and preset voice commands. There are plenty of voice commands, but it's honestly very limiting when it comes to actual teamwork in public games. Sure, anyone who's gonna take this game seriously is gonna use a third-party program like Discord or something, but it's pretty detrimental to the casual team play and making friends for there to just be no VoIP. Add in voice chat. Shooting in and of itself is very solidly okay. There's nothing too special about it, but it's certainly not bad. Aiming and hit detection are where I feel things are off. It feels like the game runs on a lower tick rate, and I say this because there have been quite a few times when I get shot after or as I'm going behind a wall, or it looks like the enemy isn't actually looking at me, but their bullets are hitting me right in the chest and or face. If this is to be a tactical and competitive game, hit detection needs to be worked on a lot, and the tick rate should be higher so that getting shot as I head behind a wall stops happening. The game modes themselves, while standard, are actually pretty solid so far. Team Deathmatch is Team Deathmatch. Kill dudes on enemy team, get points, win game. Not much to say about this one. It's fast-paced and is easily the most Call of Duty of all of the game modes. Terminal Capture is a King of the Hill kind of mode where a single point activates and you fight for control of it. Once the team captures it, the point moves to a different location further past the enemy lines. Also, the team that captures the point tank gets a Tachikoma, or a think tank if the enemy gets it. This game mode works pretty well for the most part, and I dig how dynamic it is with terminal locations. The battle moves around the maps in interesting ways, and the locations of each battle are usually interesting. The only problem with this game mode, and it's a big one, is the tank. It is simply too strong. It takes a lot of focus away from the enemy team, allowing them to push forward with less resistance as the team facing the tank is distracted. It's got a lot of health, as you'd expect from a big robot, though you can make it much more vulnerable by hacking it. Stand near it and start hacking, and you and your teammates will do much more damage, but it does mark the hacker for the enemy team. If you're gonna give the team that just scored the point a tank, then it needs to be less distracting. Lower its health and damage, and that might honestly be enough. Last up is Demolition. This is an attack and defend game mode that's basically Counter-Strike's own bomb defusal mode with a few key differences. Two teams take turns either planting a bomb or defending and defusing the bomb points. There's no single person who's carrying the bomb, and anyone can defuse it. When the bomb is planted, it lets everybody know which point it was planted on, pointing anybody left in the right direction. Each player only has one life, so when they're dead, they are out for the round. This makes things a bit more intense, given that you can also win by elimination. This is easily the most teamwork intensive of the modes, and it feels great in a 5v5. As the player count goes up, it only gets more chaotic and fast-paced. It's easily my favorite game mode, and I hope that future modes manage to pull in this kind of teamwork. In Ghost in the Shell, you unlock weapons and weapon mods as you play. The mods are pretty standard: barrels, scopes, stocks, skins, and they all have minor benefits and equivalent drawbacks to your weapon stats, as well as your movement speed. It's pretty standard fare, but I do have a problem with the system overall, and that's how slow unlocks are. Earning experience and progress towards unlocking your next weapon or weapon part takes ages. I've played 5 or 6 hours and only actually unlocked one additional gun and a few other pieces of equipment. For everything else, I've used the in-game currency to buy on the market. Once you've actually unlocked a piece of equipment or a gun in the armory, you still have to actually purchase it. This makes things a bit of a double grind, and even though you get a bonus 50,000 GP each time you level up, it's really just not enough to ease the grind for when you're trying to buy those larger pieces of gear, like a whole new gun. It's pretty clear at this point that microtransactions are in this game's plan, and it's unfortunate, but we can't do much else except for hope that they don't ruin the game with them and instead just limit it to cosmetics. But to be honest, I don't know how much stock I have in Nexon doing that. That's pretty much it for mechanics, but if you thought we were done, then oh, were you wrong or what? Now we're gonna talk a bit about some of the levels and how they work on some of their game modes. Capture Point on District Ruins doesn't have enough ways to flank, leading to one team securing a point and then snowballing. Thanks to the ways that you can approach being choke points, it's near impossible to actually break through. Then, just to make things a little worse, when a team captures a point, they get a tank. We need more ways to actually flank, and once the tank gets balanced, the back and forth that happens rarely now would happen much more, leading to closer and more intense games. During team deathmatch on dubbing site, it's actually very easy for one team to get stuck in or near their spawn while the other team can run around pretty freely. If the team getting cornered doesn't have the right communication, it's actually pretty hard to get out and actually into the map. I've taken a look around the map, and this is just a damn shame. The middle area of the map is awesome, and it would be great for team deathmatch, but due to how the map is set up, all the fighting ends up taking place at the 2 routes from the one team's spawn. Fix the spawn by adding more ways out, and bam, more fighting should be happening out in the kick-ass parts of the map. Downtown Dejima has a great overall flow, and I like how many corners and back ways it has. There are plenty of flanking possibilities in team deathmatch, and I think that this would be a great 5v5 competitive map. Thanks to the layout, it works just as well in Demolition as it does in team deathmatch. All in all, this is just a strong map. Last up, I just have a few miscellaneous issues that I couldn't really find a good spot to mention. You can end up in a match where you're outnumbered because the match will start regardless of the teams being even or not. The join the forums button in the menus isn't actually a button, it's just an image. Sitting there, begging, make it a button. The operator needs to shut the hell up and not yell at me that my enemies are using abilities every 23 seconds. I can understand the need to warn players of an ability being used, but instead of the operator yelling at me for every ability, maybe have the voice come from my other team members. If I see somebody stealthing, use my character's voice to inform the other players instead of some operator sitting back at base. It'd feel more like the team is involved instead of some omnipotent voice. You can't can't invite or join a friend anywhere except for the dive button. That's right, no inviting a friend to the game that you're currently in, or even when you're on the pre-match scoreboard. You have to go through the quick match menu, invite them, and wait for them to join, and then find a match. Let me lean around corners. Adding the ability to peek and check corners would improve things a lot, as right now you have to put a whole half of your body out of cover just to take a look, and that's more than enough for a sniper to ruin your day. Make Q and E lean the player's view, and bam! More tactical. Iron sights are set to be toggled by default instead of hold, and there isn't even an option to press and hold for iron sights. Why? This isn't helped by the fact that I really just can't stand toggle mode for iron sights. I personally always use hold because it just feels better, but I can't do that here. Give me at least the option to set iron sights to be turned on when I hold down the button and turned off when I let go of the button. There's no punishment for leaving a game early other than a forfeit of any of the rewards you would have gotten for completing the round. This leads to a lot of games where one team starts losing, the players get salty, they leave, and then that cements that team's loss. Sure, you can still put up a fight if you're with a friend, but nothing really feels worse than looking at the scoreboard and realizing that you're getting stomped or doing the stomping just because a bunch of angry players decided to leave. The melee weapon is stupid strong, especially when combined with hyper sprint. The amount of people I saw running around with their knives out was insane, and when they have hyper sprint, it's actually pretty hard to hit them, allowing them to just run right at your face and get an instant kill. It's unsatisfying and it feels broken. It also goes completely against the supposed tactical gameplay. That's pretty much it. Okay. There may be more I could say, but this is getting pretty long and I actually kind of want to go play some more. Like I said at the start, I feel very strongly that this game has a lot of potential. The biggest issues are those that give off a feeling that the developers just aren't sure what actual pacing or style of gameplay they want, making things feel indecisive and messy. I hope that the developers at Neopol and the publishers at Nexon make the right decisions as they work on this game to bring out the best that they can and make it more than just another run-of-the-mill free-to-play shooter. That is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please remember to leave a like and subscribe for more. Be sure to send me any comments or your thoughts on this topic either down in the comment section below or via a tweet on Twitter. My handle is @forkh. You can also shoot me an email at fork4h@gmail.com. That's it. I'll see you next time. Bye!